One major issue with the Lakers right now is LeBron James. LeBron James just isn't that elite player anymore. After he hinted at retirement and skipped the big farewell tour, a Lakers coach finally voiced what everyone was already thinking. The end might be here. Look, since Bron returned, our offensive rhythm has been completely out of sync. Those were blunt words, and LeBron's reaction caught the entire league off guard. Here's what happened. JJ Redick hit the podium after a tough loss to discuss the team. He didn't name names or blame any specific player for the loss, but his choice of words sparked a massive reaction that's still unfolding. For me, the number one priority is establishing clear roles for everyone. Honestly, I think since Bron has been back, Redick paused briefly before continuing. We just haven't been organized on offense. There are too many random plays, it's on me. Redick made 3 key points during that intense press conference. He admitted the team lacked clear role clarity. He said the offense looked messy since LeBron's injury return, then took full responsibility as the head coach. That's exactly what he said. He stepped up and took the heat himself. He mentioned LeBron's name once while focusing on the team's offensive structure. But that's not how the media took it. Craig Carton, the host of The Great Garden Show, watched that press conference and walked away with a take that had zero gray area. For Carton, Redick had basically announced to the world that LeBron James was done. Carton didn't hold back at all. He said LeBron James is one of the Lakers' biggest problems. Carton took Redick's comments on offensive roles and twisted them into a harsh critique of LeBron's current talent. He linked things together in a way Redick never did, at least not in public. Then, he took it even further. Maybe you should coach harder, but let's be real, LeBron James is officially washed now. That word, washed, spread like wildfire. It was debated on every sports talk show and NBA podcast out there. LeBron James just isn't a high-level basketball player anymore. Defensively, LeBron James is a total liability for the Lakers now. Every sentence felt like a direct hit. Carton kept going, linking LeBron's play to something much deeper than the game. For someone who claims to be an ambassador for this game, you're actually destroying the very sport you claim to be the king of. That's a massive statement that goes way beyond stats. It's a shot at his legacy, coming just days after Redick's comments. The link between the two, the coach's careful critique and Carton's aggressive take, was being connected in real time by millions of fans. And Carton had one more piece of evidence he wanted everyone to hear. He mentioned LeBron's agent Rich Paul and a specific moment from a recent podcast. Even his closest friend Rich Paul seems to be turning on him now. When Max Kellerman asked who takes the final shot to win a game, who's the choice? Carton reports that Rich Paul would choose Michael Jordan over LeBron in that specific scenario. That podcast moment Carton mentioned poured gasoline on a fire already spreading across the basketball media. For his part, Redick fought back against the wild media rumors regarding LeBron's basketball future, even mocking those early decision 2.0 style rumors. But once the coach's words went public, his actual intent no longer mattered. Only what people heard mattered. And they heard that LeBron James was the root of every Laker problem. The timing was brutal. The team had started the season without LeBron. He sat out 14 games dealing with painful sciatica. When he returned, the rhythm the team built without him was shattered. Redick noted the disruption, but the narrative had already taken a firm shape. And it wasn't a pretty look for the 41-year-old veteran in his 23rd season. Everyone stopped asking if Redick was right or wrong about the game plan. The real question was if LeBron James had become the problem himself. And that question was about to get much louder because JJ Redick wasn't alone. Other Laker figures, past and present, were ready to speak their minds. The noise grew. If Redick was the match, Byron Scott was the fuel. Scott played for and coached the Lakers. He earned the right to speak with an authority most media members lack. When asked if it was time for LeBron to leave, he did not flinch, stutter, or hesitate. Like I said, I am a fan, but I am certainly not going to mince words either. Byron Scott, a winner of 3 titles in the purple and gold, said exactly what league insiders were whispering. Those rumors had been swirling for months. I really think this should be his final year in Los Angeles. Not in the league, just here. He said the Lakers specifically need to move on. Even if LeBron still has plenty left to give another pro basketball team, he can go home, but he's got to get the hell out of here. Byron Scott's comments opened a door to a much deeper debate. It was about LeBron's actual play during the 2025-26 season. The host broke down exactly how LeBron was sabotaging the team's success. The accusations were relentless. The first big charge? Stat padding. The argument was blunt. At 41, LeBron wasn't playing to win games anymore. He was only protecting his stats. Next, the defensive concerns started mounting. LeBron's numbers from the 2025 season show 1.2 steals and 0.6 blocks per game. Those are decent stats, but the eye test tells a different story entirely. Failing to close out or guard his man properly, critics saw a massive decline. The chemistry issues with Luka Doncic were the most devastating argument of all. Insider sources noted a struggle over the team hierarchy and offensive flow. When you unite two ball-dominant stars who both need the ball to be effective, somebody has to play a secondary role. And the massive question throughout the season was if LeBron was even willing to become that supporting player. One anonymous Eastern Conference executive shared that exact view in February 2026, telling ESPN that the Lakers should trade LeBron and rebuild around Luka Doncic. This wasn't just some talking head chasing clicks. This was a real NBA insider offering a cold, brutal, professional opinion that matched what Byron Scott and the analysts were claiming on air. The story was now set in stone. The coach ranted about internal drama since LeBron James returned. A three-time champion in purple and gold said LeBron needed to go. Pundits labeled him washed, selfish, and obsessed with his own stats. Then an unnamed executive broke down the money logic for letting him leave. But one vital perspective was still missing from the debate: LeBron James himself. When the king finally spoke through all that media noise, past the pressers, the hot takes, and those secret quotes, LeBron James sat down and said something we never expected to hear from him. He actually used the one word he had dodged for years: retirement. It happened right after the Lakers got bounced from the playoffs. LeBron had dropped 40 points in a loss. He sat at the mic and began to speak in a way that felt completely different from any other post-game interview. We will see. We will see. We will see what happens next. That was vintage LeBron. Stay vague, stay measured, say nothing. But then his mood shifted slightly. The usual "we will see" turned into something that felt much more honest. Honestly, I just do not know. I have got a lot to consider. Then he kept going. Just thinking about my own future in the game of basketball, I have got a lot to weigh. Those sentences blew up the basketball world like a bomb dropped into a quiet room. Does LeBron James retire? The news cycle exploded as the headlines wrote themselves. Unlike that JJ Redick press conference, which needed experts to decode, this was LeBron raw and unfiltered after a postseason sweep, admitting that his legendary career might be ending. The media reaction was instant, intense, and covered the entire spectrum. Joy Taylor, live on her broadcast, had a very firm opinion on what LeBron was doing. He is not retiring. I'm actually quite confident in saying that. Her logic was based on something very real and personal to the king. First, he has been vocal about wanting to play with Bronny James. Exactly, and that goal is still very much within his reach. You cannot ignore the Bronny factor when analyzing LeBron's potential exit from the NBA. A reported $7.9 million bonus is tied to Bronny's deal, which lasts until at least 2027, might push LeBron toward a vet minimum deal with fewer minutes. James called sharing the floor with Bronny a special family milestone, and the money is already lined up to ensure it happens. Leaving the NBA now means missing out on the golden opportunity to play alongside his son, a feat no father in basketball history has ever pulled off at this elite level. However, some experts weren't convinced he'd return for another season. A sharp observation from that same panel highlighted a specific quote from LeBron that most fans completely ignored. Following the playoff exit, LeBron told the press he still ranks in the top 5 or 10% of all players. At first glance, it sounds confident, but those listening closely heard a confession that caught them off guard. Think about it, King James was essentially admitting that 10% of the league is better now. Yeah, or at least 5% of the league. The host then broke down the heavy meaning behind that statement. True legends never admit that, because before you say something out loud, you have to actually believe it's true. That single realization changed the entire conversation. For 20 of the 24 years he has spent on the court, James was the undisputed best player on the hardwood every single night. But now he is openly admitting that younger stars have finally started to pass him. That doesn't sound like a superstar gearing up for another deep championship run. That is the voice of a man facing the end of a legendary career that started before his teammates were even born. Another expert looked at retirement through the reality that every legend eventually plays their final game. The point was simple, yet it hit hard with its cold, clear truth. Hall of Famers usually retire for two main reasons. They either go out on top or they realize another ring is impossible. But James does not fit easily into either one of those boxes. He has already reached the peak, winning 4 rings with 3 teams, but the gap between these Lakers and a title contender started to look like a massive void that even his greatness could not possibly fill. LeBron did not just lose to Denver, the Nuggets completely swept him away. The road back to a championship is not a few games, it is miles away. That sweep was the ultimate turning point. It wasn't just a loss, it was getting shut out completely. The host brought up the idea that distance determines your drive. Basically, if your goal feels out of reach, your motivation to chase it starts to fade away. Even as the dust settled on that sweep during the presser, one analyst warned everyone not to take LeBron's retirement talk too literally. The take was brilliant, showing a deep understanding of how James has played the game for years. The underlying message hung in the air, suggesting his retirement hints were about far more than just an emotional reaction. This could be leverage. He has a $52.6 million player option. Even hinting at retirement gives him plenty of leverage. It hands him massive control over how the Lakers build their roster. If the front office fears he might leave, they'll likely give him exactly what he wants. From roster trades to making sure Bronny James has a clear path forward. LeBron James describes retiring as more of a life celebration, not a defeat, focusing on family and his headspace rather than just counting stats. That's deep. It shows he's already doing the hard work of imagining his life outside the NBA. Even if he hasn't officially called it quits yet, hard facts behind all the noise, most of the talk about LeBron retiring is just pure opinion. Reading into press conferences or overanalyzing post-game quotes, claims of being selfish or padding his stats. But basketball, despite all the constant drama, is a game that keeps a brutal, detailed record of every single play on the hardwood. Those records paint a picture of LeBron James in 2025-26 that doesn't fit the narrative of a man who has to retire. LeBron played 60 games this season, averaging 20.9 points, 7.2 assists, and 6.1 rebounds per game. At 41 years old, in his 23rd NBA season, those stats put him 26th in scoring, not just among older players, but the entire league. 26th in the whole NBA, a league full of kids who were in grade school when LeBron won his first MVP. His shooting numbers were just as stubborn, completely defying the usual aging curve. LeBron shot 51.5% from the floor with true shooting of 59.4%. Those are not the stats of a player who has lost his touch on the court. Those are the stats of a man who has learned, over more than 2 decades of professional play, exactly which shots he can still hit and which he can't. Advanced metrics back up the box score, making that washed narrative nearly impossible to believe under real pressure. His player efficiency rating was 20.8. His box plus-minus was a positive 3.5, and the Lakers' on-off numbers showed a clear trend. The team went 39-21 with LeBron versus 14-8 without him. A high plus-minus shows that the team was way better with him on the floor than on the bench. That's not the statistical profile of a bench warmer. That's the mark of a star who still moves the needle. Understanding his injury history is key to seeing the full picture of this season. He missed 14 games due to sciatica, a nerve issue affecting his lower back and legs, which required a very careful and slow process to get back on court. He missed training camp and the whole preseason. He returned to a squad that had already built its own rhythm and chemistry. That disorganization JJ Redick talked about wasn't just because LeBron was playing like a bad player. It was also about a team trying to fit a ball-dominant legend into their roster, especially since the system spent a full month learning how to play without him. Then came March, the month that changed the LA franchise landscape. According to reports, the landscape shifted. Something finally clicked. LeBron James accepted being the third option behind Doncic and Reeves, sparking seismic results. The Lakers finished 15-2 in March, their hottest stretch of basketball in years. His individual stats during that run were a masterclass in selfless, brilliant play. 18.5 points, shooting 56%, 7 assists, and 6.9 rebounds per game across 14 March starts. Those stats show a superstar who learned to be effective without being the main focal point. His scoring numbers dipped. 18.5 points is not the 30 he dropped nightly, but his efficiency skyrocketed. Those assists remained elite, and the wins piled up fast, silencing every negative narrative from early in the season. This 3-star core of Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, and a willing, adaptable LeBron produced elite basketball that gave Lakers fans hope. For the first time in months, fans felt genuinely optimistic about a deep run. That momentum lasted all the way through the season finale. In his final 3 games before the playoffs started, averaged 24 points, 9.7 assists, 6 rebounds. He even added 3 steals. Those are numbers any coach in the league would love on their roster sheet. Averaging nearly 10 assists means LeBron was not simply hoarding the ball. He created huge opportunities for teammates at a rate few point guards could ever match. Analyst Joy Taylor, who watched this entire LA season unfold, highlighted the gap between the rumors and reality. He can still go out and drop 40. He is clearly not washed. We are not watching a guy drag himself up and down the court. That take was backed by a fact most critics chose to ignore. The Lakers actually finished as the 4th seed in the Western Conference. This was not a lottery team being held back by an aging superstar. They were a legit playoff squad that, when healthy and clicking, put real fear into the rest of the league. Still, subtle signs of regression were there for anyone looking honestly at the data. His 3-point shooting was just 31%. Scoring volume was down from his career peaks. That elite first-step explosiveness that made him a transition nightmare had finally started to fade. Not gone, but certainly diminished. When injuries to Doncic or Reeves forced him back into lead scoring duties, the heavy burden was visible on his 41-year-old body. But here's the thing, regression is always relative. LeBron James at 85% is still a top 30 scorer in the league. He still facilitates at an elite level and makes the Lakers better every minute he plays. The question was never about his decline. Obviously, that happened. The real question was if the decline was finally hurting the team. Was he hurting the Lakers more than helping? That is a decision only he can make despite everything said by the coach. From Byron Scott to Craig Carton and those unnamed executives, even the analysts dissecting LeBron's latest post-game press conference circles a central truth that no amount of expert analysis can change. This decision belongs to LeBron James and only LeBron James. The latest report from The Athletic dropped April 17th, 2026, confirming exactly what we all suspected for months. LeBron has not decided anything yet, and retiring is definitely still on the table. Brian Windhorst and other NBA insiders say the Lakers are completely in the dark here, describing the situation as truly undecided rather than a foregone conclusion dressed up as suspense. This is not a player who has already decided and is milking the drama. This is a man, a 41-year-old with a family and a massive empire, plus a body that has survived 23 grueling pro seasons, who is honestly weighing if the daily grind is worth one more year. Still, the pull is powerful. That $7.9 million incentive in Bronny's deal makes a father-son reunion look very good financially. Bronny's rookie deal lasts through at least 2026 to 27, meaning the chance for LeBron to play with his eldest son is a narrow closing window. If he retires now, that dream dies forever. And LeBron has been saying the same thing for years. In every interview, playing with Bronny is one of the only goals still keeping him in the game. I am convinced he truly wants to play with Bronny. When you actually take a step back and look at the situation, the chance to share the court with your own son that moment, unheard of, legendary, and deeply personal, might be the biggest reason he stays in the NBA. It is not about money, records, or proving guys like Craig Carton wrong, or showing Byron Scott that he still has it. It is the chance to look over mid-game and see his son running right beside him. But the reasons to retire are just as strong and cannot be ignored as gossip. At 41, the daily recovery, the maintenance, and the rehab, managing those minutes is a reality that gets tougher every single season. That sciatica flare-up that sidelined him for 14 games was a massive warning. Despite his incredible fitness routine, is not immune to time. Reports say even his elite output requires very cautious handling. Every game is a negotiation between his ambition and his biology. His teammates have whispered that he has nothing left to prove. That feeling captures something the stats just can't show. The mental drain on a man who already owns nearly every record in basketball. All-time leading scorer, 4 rings, 4 MVPs, and 20 All-Star nods. At some point, the drive to keep playing has to be internal because no trophy can offer it. Only LeBron knows if that fire is still burning hot enough to keep going. Speculation keeps swirling about sentimental options like returning to the Cleveland. Those scenarios would represent a departure from the Lakers, but not from basketball, adding yet another variable to a decision tree that already has more branches than a redwood. The cap flexibility argument, letting LeBron walk so the Lakers can retool around Doncic with younger, cheaper, higher upside players, exist in front office spreadsheets, but is not manifested as organizational policy. As of right now, the door is open for LeBron to return. LeBron's 2025-26 performance has been, by the standards of any 1-year-old in any sport, remarkable. A positive BPM of 3.5, a true shooting percentage near 60%, a 15-2 march that proved the 3-star model could work when everyone committed, a team that finished as the 4th seed in the most competitive conference in basketball. Whether he will stay or resign soon is a question no one can answer for now, but the NBA world will keep watching. So, when is the right time for a legend like LeBron James to walk away? And do you think he should go out on his own terms or wait until the game starts telling him it's over? Let me know what you think in the comments section. For more videos like this, click on this next card on your screen.